And my first guest this evening is Dr. Ali Bacher, well-known cricketer and administrator. We're discussing transformation and leadership in the sport with Dr. Bacher. Earlier, you were telling me about transformation, particularly in cricket, right? And the challenge that cricket faces, because you only get top players from 30 schools out of thousands of schools in South Africa, and you're trying to sort that one. How do you go about it?
So the reality is, if there's a young black cricketer staying in the townships, primary school, high school, unless he's got Brian Lara genes, he's not going to make it. The odds against him. It's not his fault. This is the legacy of apartheid. What we're trying to do with a company called Blue Label, we've identified about 8 schools in the cities, in Johannesburg, in Krugersdorp, where cricket used to be played. They have facilities. There's a culture of cricket. Most of these kids come from the townships, but no cricket's been played. So we embarking on a program. We're into our second year, starting with Form 1, the kids coming through, giving the type of cricket opportunities, coaching facilities that I had when I went to King Edward's. So this is a 5-year project, and I'm just hoping that in 4 or 5 years' term, from the cities of Johannesburg, at those schools that were previously white, that are now mainly black, that we start to produce great cricketers from those schools. And I think if we can do that, we'll have more and more blacks on merit playing for this country.
Dr. Bacher, you have the experience of uniting sport, especially cricket, as well as embarking on the transformation project and in the process unearthing talent. Just tell me about the whole experience of doing all the things that I've mentioned.
Well, I think it's about opportunities and it's about chances. I mean, take Makayantini. He was spotted in the rural areas of border age 14. He came to a baker's mini cricket clinic. He was so embarrassed he didn't have any tackies or boots. He came in his sister's sandals. And one of our
sisters in his
sandals. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of our coaches, Raymond Boy,
yes,
who used to work for us in development, he saw this kid. He got on the phone. And the next thing, he went to Dale College. He couldn't speak English. He went to a boarding school, but he was given that opportunity. And life's about opportunities. And that's what we should all be striving to do, whether it be in education, whether it be in medicine, whether it be in sport. I mean, when I played cricket, we were one of the best in the world, but we only had a market of 5 million white people. Now we've got 50 million people. We should be dominant in world sport. And I think, unfortunately, we're not using the resources that are available to us.
Let's stay with Makayantini. I want to still go to that school's matter that you spoke about. In the case of Makayantini, so many things were hurdles before him, but he found a way of overcoming it. What do you attribute that to? I mean, if you don't have shoes, you live in a rural area, you have never played cricket before.
He just had a passion and commitment to do well, to create a better life for himself and his future. He wasn't talent-wise the most gifted fast bowler I've ever seen, but he became one of the greatest this country's ever seen. Heart, determination, motivation, striving to perfection, and he nearly got 400 test wickets. I think really he's one of our great fast bowlers of all time.
In terms of transformation itself, there's a lot of politics sometimes if you're standing on the sidelines and observing. Unfortunately, rugby is the one that's picked on most of the time, but cricket has also had its fair share. To what extent do you think politics interferes with the process or puts undue pressure on the process of transformation?
Oh no, look, we've lived in a cycle and eras where politics have been dominated by whites. Now blacks getting opportunities, blacks want to be in charge. So it hasn't been easy to merge different forces together, but as I said before, the potential in this country is unbelievable.
Well, the point I'm making here, Dr. Bacher, is that people may be very keen to see more black players, for instance, in a particular sport, but development has got to take place. How do you balance the two?
You've got to start at the base. You've got to start at schools level. You've got to give, at that level, kids equal opportunity. You've got to do it. It's morally right. It's politically right. And once they go thereafter, let it evolve and see what transpires. What concerns me about rugby, and I'm not a rugby man, so I've got to be very careful here. I watch a lot of schools rugby. I watch the Craven Week. Oh, the blacks are performing with distinction there. You watch Border, Eastern Province, Bull and Western Province. 50-50 sometimes, and they are jolly good rugby players. What happens to them? I've been watching rugby this afternoon on Super Sport, 2 games. You have a look at the number of blacks playing there on the field. 3, 4. It was the same 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So there's obviously a problem. I can't answer it. I'm not a rugby administrator. But certainly from high school level, when these black rugby players leave, do they get lost to the system? I don't know.
But somehow cricket has been able to unearth talent, right? We've got the likes of Kagiso Rabada now, and I'm sure there are many others.
Kagiso Rabada, why he has excelled, he went to St. Stephen's College, a top cricketing school. He had the same opportunities that I had when I went to King Edwards. He had talent, he's got a big heart. Dale Steyn reckons he's going to be our best ever fast bowler. Again, you've got to go to the right environment to get your opportunities coming through.
Yeah, but you know, the cricket community seems to be getting it right. Even football, for that matter. Let me add football, because football itself is not performing at the same level from the point of view of the fans as it used to be the case, let's say, 1996 when South Africa won the Africa Cup.
But I interviewed John Barnes, and he told me the reason why we're not taking the world on in soccer. He said, in the mid-90s, a lot of our professional players played overseas, because that's the highest level.
Yeah.
That's where you can perform better, you can achieve a lot more. He said what's happening today, that was him saying it, because there's so much money in South African soccer, the soccer players are staying here. They're not going overseas and playing in the better leagues, better competition. And that's what he said on television to me. That is the reason why our soccer is not as good as it should be.
To the point of development, I think there's not enough sport being played at schools now than before, especially in the township and rural schools.
Absolutely.
And I suppose as one of the influential voices in sport, you have raised the matter with the government. I wonder why. Because even, frankly, in the apartheid days, there was a lot of sport being played.
Yeah, but the odds are immense. For the World Cup in 2003, with the late Carter Artsmal, we worked out, we had a cricket program to really spread the game. Do you know there are 27,000 schools in this country, majority are black African, mainly in the townships, and in the overwhelming number of those schools, no facilities, no sporting facilities. 27,000 schools.
Yes.
How are you in today's economic times when money is so tight, where the government, is running short of money, how are we going to create facilities in those townships? It's going to be very, very difficult.
Well, there were tournaments in any event, right? And I'm not saying that we should not press on with the question of facilities, but I think there's more encouragement that is needed there, and we don't see enough of that if we're going to produce sports stars of the future. And the role that is played by leaders in sport, I think, plays a critical role as well. Frankly, I mean, you are one of the people, if you're not committed and passionate about the change you wanted to see in sport, with the support of other people, of course, maybe we would not be where we are now. What is the role of leadership in that regard?
All I can tell you, in the 90s, I had a team of cricket administrators around the country, white and black, in the townships driving cricket. They were passionate about the game. They earned very little money. We had regular conversations on the weekend to achieve the objective of making cricket a more national game. And it gave us immense pleasure. Are today cricket administrators, do they have the same passion? I can't answer it. But if you don't have that passion, commitment, we're not going to advance our game of cricket further today.
Now, you are so passionate about cricket, notwithstanding the fact that you are no longer running it, but you are somehow connected to it. I refer to the program that you did, the interview you conducted with A.B. de Villiers. And in what other forms are you still keeping yourself busy, Dr. Bacher?
Well, since 2008, I'm non-executive chairman of the biggest NGO in this country on HIV/AIDS. It's called To Right to Care. We have a fantastic board, doctors, accountants, black and white, quality people. Our budget this year is about 1.6 billion rand. We're into 17 African countries with other partners on HIV/AIDS. The money comes from the United States, 1.6 billion rand. And you hear a lot of criticism in this country about the US medicine, what they do, what they're not doing. Let me say, as far as HIV/AIDS, they are playing a huge job, not in South Africa, in Africa, in trying to alleviate this, problem which has such serious repercussions, not in South Africa but in Africa. And then I also help Alexander Forbes. I'm chairman of the Community Trust, and I do these television interviews which I love passionately. I've just been to England, and I interviewed three greats there. One, Kevin Peterson, I interviewed him. He'll be controversial. Great cricketer, but unfortunately he played for England.
I have to squeeze something out of you, Dr. Bacher, because we're running out of time. Just quick word of advice to an aspirant athlete out there in any sport. What is the key thing to think about?
Commitment, dedication, love, passion for what you're doing. I mean, when I was 4 and 5 years of age, I had this dream. I just wanted to play cricket for my country. And if you've got that commitment, that drive, that passion, all things being equal, and you've got a bit of talent, you don't need a great bit of talent, you can make it right to the top.
Dr. Ali Bacher, much appreciated. Thank you very much for having been my guest. So there you are. Heart, and more heart, and a bit of talent. That's what you said.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Well, still ahead, we go from sport to theater, and we'll be finding out from two prominent figures in that world if we are succeeding in bringing our African stories to this stage. Sport is hard. Let's find out what theater is all about.